the Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm Charlene Lynch, and together we are shining a light on hope, resilience, and transformation in the journey to end domestic violence. Each week, we bring you inspiring interviews with changemakers, survivors, and advocates, and experts who are making a difference in the lives of those affected by family and domestic violence. You're here because you're on a healing journey, and it might be yourself or you might be supporting someone who is. This is your space for powerful stories, practical tools, and heartfelt inspiration. Let's heal through love. I love it. Today we've got a very special guest. Lina Nguyen is a lawyer. She's a mediator, a writer, and an award-winning podcast host who helps people move through conflict with clarity and care. She's also a survivor of workplace sexual violence, raped by a police officer at a work function, and later cross-examined for 4 days while 6 months pregnant. After speaking up, she lost her job. But then what was reclaimed is that her power, her voice, her purpose, and a new vision for justice. Lina, I am so glad that you're here. Let's have a beautiful conversation. It's so great to have you here. Hi, Lina.
Hi, Charlene. Thank you so much. It truly is so special for me to share this moment with you and your audience.
Oh, thank you so much. Many of our listeners have had similar experiences or are supporting people who have. And without sort of diving into the deep details of everything, can you take us to how you transitioned from that space into where you are now? Like how did you get yourself out of this? How did you not wake up every day and not want to move forward?
Being a lawyer, I think when I woke up the morning after the rape, I did go into lawyer mode. So my brain was able to protect me in this way. And I learned that after sexual violence and experience that trauma in the moment, our brains are quite incredible and our bodies are quite incredible in how they protect us to help us survive. So for me, naturally, looking back, my lawyer brain helped me to get through. And immediately I started thinking about, well, what do I do now? How do I report it? I have to report it. Well, maybe I don't have to report it. What happens if I don't? So I was able to logically think through it. And over the next couple of years, what that meant is that I went through reporting the matter and having it investigated criminally by police against a police officer. And then when I was told that they weren't going to go to court criminally and prosecute him, I looked at my options in suing both my former employer, the New South Wales Police Force, and the perpetrator. And I was able to heal through justice, through the legal system. And I believe so much in healing through love. And also as a lawyer, I truly believe, Charlene, in healing through the justice system and our legal processes. If you know the right legal solution for you and you have the right legal support and the right team to support you.
Oh, this is so powerful. And myself as a survivor and the company that I keep, most of the women that work with us in the space of healing through love, both locally and globally, have got their own stories, either domestic or family violence. And, one of the biggest challenges in our deep, beautiful conversations that we frequently have is pulling back the covers, specifically on family violence, where now you are revealing your tribe. And this is, we've become ostracized, we've become separated, on every level. It is that next level of challenge. What can you help with our listeners today who are thinking, it happened and I'm still walking around, I'm sort of okay, and they're not moving forward to pursue it? What advice can you give to them?
Look, as a lawyer and someone who works within the legal system, and I talk to clients every day who are considering the law as a vehicle for healing and a process for healing, I am a very strong advocate in knowing your legal rights and knowing how the law can help support you in either getting the justice that you might be seeking, or maybe it's about getting, compensation that you deserve. Maybe it's about, you've lost your home or your job, like I did. I lost my job. And maybe it's about getting compensation and getting some money that you deserve. Or maybe something's happened and someone's trying to silence you and force you to never to speak about it. That's a legal issue there. And so for me, part of my healing was also about being able to speak about my story and not to be silenced. And throughout the civil case, so the case where I was suing the New South Wales Police Force, I was actually in the process of recording my podcast. And so I knew it was important to me that I wasn't going to be silenced by a contract, what's called a non-disclosure agreement, to force me into silence. So what I would be saying is, for anyone walking around thinking, how do I heal? How do I survive and then thrive and then turn the trauma into something that I can thrive upon and perhaps help others and move on to a new chapter of my life, is to consider whether there is potentially a legal issue there where a good lawyer who's in your corner can help you identify those legal issues and perhaps solve your problem through a legal solution.
This is so powerful. I've got to ask you, I've got to know, what do you think happened with the criminal case? Why do you think they weren't willing to pursue it?
Look, the police investigated it. It was in their interest that not only was it a criminal matter, but it was two employees involved in it to at least have the appearance of them having done everything they could. And I'm not trying to say that they cut corners necessarily or did a bad job, but there were certainly biases involved, and it was certainly in their interest that criminal charges were not laid and that a criminal matter didn't pursue. So I've spoken about this publicly in my podcast, that the investigation in itself was flawed at the time. Now we're going back a few years, and I understand the New South Wales Police Force has improved its sexual assault investigations, but there were some fundamental flaws in that investigation, including that the detective who was investigating my crime wasn't experiencing sexual assault. In fact, he'd just come out of the drugs and firearms squad. He didn't understand the impact of trauma on memory. There was just a lot of issues there, including fundamental mistakes of me being slut-shamed and witnesses giving evidence on paper, willing to say to a jury about how I was dressed and how I was, all that stuff, which I thought we had moved beyond that. So there were a lot of flaws in that criminal investigation that meant that it didn't really have the chance to see the light of day.
No means no. Come on, guys. I would have thought that we've moved past this. So I think that, obviously this is a situation that happens broader outside of the police. But I feel like, from an outsider looking in, is that that's the place that you expect people to, want to mentor people that need help, want to be the hero, want to make a difference for others. So I think for me, it's like, oh, if it had been a normal workplace, I probably would go, yeah, alcohol, these things, But I feel that I'm more agitated about it because I'm expecting that the police are going to not rescue, but, protect us, and that in that environment, you wouldn't expect those sorts of things to happen. But wow, okay. So then, with your criminal case, how did you get the outcome you were looking for from the criminal case?
Again, my lawyer brain knew that it was a very high bar to reach. So in a criminal matter, the evidence has to reach a standard of beyond reasonable doubt, which is the highest legal standard you can get in any type of case, in a legal case. And a higher than in a civil standard when you're suing someone or when you're going to family court, for example. So my lawyer brain knew, and also with the criminal justice system, I knew that to even get criminal charges, it would be a high standard. And so when that didn't happen, just the logics in me wasn't too disappointed. But there are pros and cons as well with charges being laid. So it's not always the right solution for a victim survivor. So I then immediately knew, firstly, that was not in my control, a decision that's not up to me and not in control. So I've learned, and throughout that healing process, I knew and I learned very quickly to let go of the things I can't control. And that's certainly something that I didn't control at all. But what I could control was then having justice in my hands and suing and starting a civil case against my former employer.
Yeah, wow. Okay, but when we're in this place of grief and in this place of, we're surviving rather than thriving, we don't think like this. And for many of you, if you're listening today and you are a survivor, is it time for you to have a conversation with a lawyer to see if there are things that you can do to move forward, and whether sometimes it's just about speaking it out, isn't it? It's not necessarily about getting the outcome that you were hoping for. Sometimes it's about energetically getting rid of all of this, making it public so that it can't happen again.
I think so. I think that's definitely a benefit in speaking to a lawyer. And again, it's a very different conversation that you have with a lawyer than when you're talking to, for example, a family member or a psychologist or a counsellor or a doctor. It's I find the healing when I'm in lawyer mode to be able to take, and I truly don't mean this, I mean this in the kindest and most compassionate way. But sometimes it helps to take the emotion out of it, and certainly when you're talking to a lawyer, I think a good lawyer in a situation will approach you with kindness and compassion. But as a good lawyer should be able to tell you the law and your legal options and your legal rights and the legal risks and the legal costs, and weighing all of that up without the emotion attached so that you can make a logical decision that includes time and money and all sorts of things and, other types of risks. But a lawyer who can walk with you and hold your hand to explain those things in a kind and compassionate way is can be a very refreshing conversation to have in your healing journey, I believe.
Yes, because generally the newspapers and the television and the movies don't paint the industry in the light that it is, because equally to the police officers, they're in there because they want to make a difference for people. They want to protect them, they want to support them, they want them to move forward. If there was an archetype called lawyer, you're a beautiful example of what it would be, to help someone through what can seem to be a really complicated system. The legal system from the outside looking in looks and feels really overwhelming and complicated. Now, especially if you're in trauma brain. So let's talk about that for many of our listeners who are still in that space. What does that look like? Can we talk about that for a few minutes?
Yes, of course, I'd love to. What does the trauma brain look like when you're speaking to a lawyer?
No, so say for instance, so my background is both family and domestic violence. And at neither of those interjections, I didn't move forward and get any assistance because who would listen to me? I'm still healing. I can't even talk about it properly myself. I didn't really know what really happened. And so going to a lawyer is like, it would be the last thing on my list of things because I'm still literally licking my wounds. Yeah. So can we talk about when you're in trauma brain, when you're in that space of things aren't okay, which for you was like a millisecond because you transitioned straight into lawyer brain and sorting this out. But for many women, we stay in this space of victim and below the line, some of us for decades.
Hmm. Look, what I want to say about that is that your health and your health and your sense of emotional and physical safety and psychological safety comes first. So if you're not yet in a place of readiness to start looking at legal options, I strongly recommend that make sure that you are able to get yourself into a headspace and a heart space to talk to a lawyer first. If you're not there yet, speaking to a lawyer, I will not say is in the top list of priorities. If you're still in a space where you're not even able to communicate about it in a way that's safe for you and the way that's productive in order to talk to a lawyer, and make that a priority. I also want to say that even though when my brain went into lawyer mode, it didn't always help me, because my lawyer brain didn't let me be a victim as well. So I remember times where I'd be having conversations I'm supposed to be a victim. I am a victim survivor, but my lawyer brain almost didn't let me, and that did let me down as well. So there's also strengths in allowing yourself to be a victim and to acknowledge that. Whereas my brain at the time is confused trauma, lawyer brain, victim brain, trying to survive, not sure what is happening brain. I think the priority was for me to survive physically and for me to literally stay alive. So on my legal path, in my legal journey, my healing journey, sometimes the lawyer brain didn't serve me well either. So I just wanted to make that point. But
I love that. Thank you so much. I hear you. I just want to know, for those that have been silenced, disbelieved, or blamed, how do they reclaim their own voice without losing themselves? So, like, how did you do that, and how can we do that?
Very early on, when I knew I had to report it and I wanted to, that was I know it's a very personal decision for people, but I looked into my head and I looked forward into, if I just go back to work and I go back to the meal room and I see him and I'm trying to work but I can't, what would happen? I knew for me that the pathway for me was to report it. Now, that's not for everyone. I know you'll edit this out. Just remind me, what was the question again, Charlene?
Well, this is about speaking your truth, even though people have silenced you, disbelieved you, and blamed you. Like they're just, and this is for family violence and domestic violence, is that there are people around you that just don't believe you. And in your case, it was the legal system. In my case, it's the people around me. Yeah. And did you bring this upon yourself? Like, how do we get our own voice without like losing ourselves in the process?
Early on for me, even though I decided to report it, and this is what I was getting at, is that I made a decision in that moment that I'm going to report this and I don't care if you believe me. It doesn't matter to me if you believe me. Now, that's a difference between being believed and credibility as a witness. So when you're a witness in a legal case, your credibility and your reliability essentially comes down to whether you're believed. But there is there's an emotional and a legal technical difference between being believed emotionally and, from a legal point of view, having the credibility to believe. But ultimately, I made the decision as, this isn't about whether so-and-so believes me or this person believes me. I'm going to heal and I'm going to report this and I'm going to find justice regardless of whether you believe me. I don't need you to believe me. I don't need your approval. I'm doing this. So that was a decision that I made early on. And again, that was the personal decision that I made, and I had the resources and ability and to take that path. What I would say to others is, there might be someone who doesn't believe you, but there are a flood of other people who do and who don't question you. People, if you're saying this has happened to you, there are people who will believe you and know the truth and know your truth without you having to prove anything. The fact that you say that that's your experience is enough.
Oh, so powerful. There's so many more questions I want to ask you about how you got back here and how you've moved on and how you've rebuilt your business and yourself and everything else in between. So we're definitely going to have you back as a guest moving forward. But in the meantime, for those of you who are listening, if you're a survivor of family and or domestic violence, reach out to Healing Through Love, because we've got pamper days. Now, what does a pamper day look like? Think day spa on steroids, where you come along all for free and pampered from head to toe. Think having skincare done, having your hair massaged, having your hair done, your makeup done, hands massaged. We've got chakra aligning, like pick a therapy. We've got 25 different practitioners who hold the space for you for the day for free. We have them both here locally and also abroad, and obviously now global. Since 2023, Healing Through Love has now been global, and we're so honoured to have won a Global Ambassador Award through the UN. So it's fabulous that this tiny little thing that happened in our backyard has now expanded to a global concern. If you're listening today and you are a practitioner, we'd love to have you as a guest on our podcast. Yes, and reach out to us, because we're looking for practitioners to hold the space just for the one day for these survivors. We know this one day changes their entire life. So we'd love to have a chat with you. Now, coming back to you, Lina, I would love your final words of wisdom for our listeners. Share your final words of wisdom for our listeners.
I see you, I hear you, and I feel you. And I truly wish you all the kindness and all the light in your healing. And I urge you that if you feel that there's a legal solution and a legal path to your healing, then please consider that, because I truly do believe in our justice system and our legal system in Australia to help through your healing.
Oh, that's so solid. I love it, Lina. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for just speaking an open heart and sharing. And I'm looking forward to having you back, because I've got so many more questions. It's a goodbye from us from Healing Through Love, and a goodbye from Lina. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.